How are y'all? I'm a little bit early. I thought I was scheduling this out, but it just popped right on. So here we are. Let me get set up. I'm pretty much almost set up, so we should be good. I hope all is well. Let me get everything up here. Um, like here we are. All right, so we're up on Instagram. Hey, y'all. We're up on YouTube. Now let me get my music playing. I hope all is well, y'all. As we go into this topic, I am excited to discuss. I don't think that we've even touched perfectionism at all. Um, Welcome in. I don't think that we touch perfectionism at all, so I'm glad we are actually able to jump on this. Thank you to everyone who voted on the topic. And hold on here, let me get my, this might be loud, y'all. Let's see. That's a little loud. Here we are. Okay, cool. So I'm excited to jump on and discuss our topic today. Like I said, we're a little early, so I'll give a couple minutes. But and let me get But the topic for today is breaking up with perfectionism. That's today's topic. Especially during this time, like we got to show ourselves some grace, y'all. So it definitely. Oh, I don't know why this moved to this. Did this last week? Hold on. Especially during this time, I feel like perfectionism is the last thing we need to be trying to do or think about. Okay. I don't know why this keeps switching. It doesn't let me switch it back. So maybe this will work. Okay, that worked. Okay, there we go. So I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk about this. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I am a certified mindfulness coach. On this channel, we talk about all things self-care, mental health, and tonight, everyone voted on discussing perfectionism tonight. So I'm excited to thank you. I'm excited to talk through it because it's one of those underlining mental health things that really affect us a lot, but we kind of ignore it or we see it as a good thing versus it being something that's detrimental to our lives, our everyday lives. So I'm glad that we're going to dig into this. This is very interactive, so feel free to ask any questions. What I'm going to do is talk about just what perfectionism is first, and then we'll dive into how we can identify it or how it shows up, and then we'll dive into what we can do about it, what we can do to break up with perfectionism. I don't have just affirmations today. I have 3 affirmations and 3 journaling questions that you can walk away from our live tonight. So I hope that's helpful in kind of talking through initially like what to do about perfectionism. So again, feel free to ask me any questions if you need me to repeat anything, if you need me to, I don't know why it keeps turning my music off, but if you need me to go back to anything, let me know. Let me see if this, okay, it came back on. All right, so perfectionism, right? What is it? Because I think sometimes we just think about perfectionism as being, oh, I just want to do something the right way, or I want to be productive, or I want to, just do things the right way, right? Perfectionism is the extreme of that, right? So I have an actual definition here. So perfectionism is the belief that you must be flawless and perform without mistakes and meet high, often unrealistic standards. Okay. And your effort in that is in order to be accepted, considered successful or worthy. And it's often rooted in fear, right? So fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, abandonment, fear of disappointment, fear of losing control, right? A fear of accessibility or vulnerability. So all of those things could line up with perfectionism or the fear of perfectionism, and then also just the feeling of not being good enough, right? If you have a low view of yourself of being good enough or not good enough, perfectionism can stem from that. Okay, so fear of failure, fear of rejection, abandonment, disappointment, losing control, accessibility, and not feeling good enough. Okay. Now, perfectionism, what is it in a nutshell? We kind of went through the definition, but it's ultimately a coping mechanism. So it's a way that we cope from traumatic experiences, or a way that we have coped through the way that we've been conditioned as children, right? So if you were conditioned to be a perfectionist, or if you were conditioned to think a certain way, it may not be a coping mechanism per se, but it just may be an internal belief or something that you have been raised on, and that's just how you've always operated. Okay, so perfection is a coping mechanism for fear. Fear is the root. You're going to hear me say that often tonight. And it's an attempt to control narratives, right? It's an intention to control situations. So that way, those situations or narratives meet the standard, realistic or unrealistic, that will make you feel perfect. Okay. So that's what perfectionism is. Feel free to ask me any questions, or if you have any, anything to add to that. But in a nutshell, that's what perfectionism is. So why break up with perfectionism, right? Why should we even consider the process of breaking up with that thought process, or that thought pattern? The first reason is that it steals your joy. It steals your joy and it keeps you stuck, right? It's exhausting. Let's be real. It's exhausting to try to get everything and do everything in a perfect way. And so, why take the time to break up with perfectionism is to gain your joy back, to unstuck yourself or unstick yourself, or however you want to say it, right? And it also, in that stuckness, you miss the true beauty of life. You miss the little things. You miss even those small, imperfect pieces of life that have beauty, right? You miss all of that because we're so laser focused on making sure everything is perfect. So that's the point number one. Number two, it's rooted in fear. Like I mentioned before, perfectionism is rooted in fear. So that creates anxiety, self doubt, burnout, low self worth or low self esteem, and even a sense of hiding yourself, a sense of hiding who you are. And not being able to navigate life as you are, just as you are, as you wake up every morning, and you having to put on this mask, like we talked about masks before. You having to put on this mask, where you have to put on this sense of self that isn't necessarily you. It's just a version, like one small version of who you are. Living your life like that can create anxiety. It can create depression. It can create, like I said, high levels of self-doubt, or just exhaustion and fatigue and burnout. So rooted in fear. It also blocks connection. So it hides your true self and keeps others at arm's length. It hides your true self and keeps others at arm's length. You're unable to be vulnerable. You're unable to connect with others. You can connect with others, but it only goes but so far, right? At a certain point, relationships, friendships, romantic relationships fall apart because of the fact that you're unable to push past the perfected you and move into the vulnerable pieces of yourself with connections and with people, even with children, right? Even with your own children, it's hard for you to connect with your children because of the fact that you're having difficulty just connecting with people in general because of this whole perfectionist facade that we're wearing. That leads me into the next point, which is false protection. We again use perfectionism as a coping mechanism, and in that gives you a sense of protection. I'm protecting myself by showing up this way. If I only show the perfect version of me, then the other version of me, or the real true version of me, can hide, and it's a form of protecting that true version of you, right? So fear of vulnerability, and you fall into the trap of people pleasing as well. When you're trying to be perfect, a lot of times that's passed on to other people, where you're trying to be the perfect person for others. And so it has you fall into a sense of people pleasing in relationships. And again, they end up falling apart because of the fact that you want to be, or you are in relationship with people, and you're there for them in their vulnerable times, but in your vulnerable times you're not able to be, right? You're not able to be vulnerable with those people. You don't allow them to see you. And so a lot of times those relationships are one-sided. People who want to be vulnerable with you may get frustrated with that, right? But then people who are manipulators, people that are controlling, people that are in relationships just to be in a certain type, just to be in a relationship, just based off of what you offer, they're going to suck you dry. So this is how we fall into relationships. Either you push away people that want to be vulnerable with you, that want to connect with you, that want to be with you just for who you are. We push those people away. And the people that are bloodsuckers are the ones that we embrace, because we don't have to show up as our unperfected self, right? So that got a little deep, but hey, that's really how it shows up, and it's something that goes under the radar. So if you wonder why you end up in friendships and relationships where you're giving, and they're taking, really think through perfectionism and how it shows up in your life, because it's there consistently for a reason. Okay, so that was because of false protection. And then lastly, it blocks your creativity. When you're a perfectionist, you avoid taking risks. You avoid uncertainty. You avoid situations that are not promising, or are not necessarily showing you in a perfected light, right? So if you are trying something new, maybe you have difficulty trying new things, or trying new habits, or going new places. And sometimes this goes to the even more of a stream where it comes into like OCD and things of that matter. That's something totally different. But when it just comes to the simple things throughout life, if you're unable to even be creative, or do something out of the box, or do something you never tried, you always do the same thing over and over again, and never step out of that square, right? That's another way that keeps you in that box, right? It keeps you in this state, or stuck, like I mentioned earlier, in this state of mind, to where because of your fear of branching out and going into new spaces and situations and arenas, it blocks your ability to be creative. It blocks your ability to take risks, and it blocks your ability to try new things. So, this is why breaking up with perfectionism is key, right? If you find yourself falling into these buckets of things, whether it be it's stealing your joy, or it keeps you stuck, or if you're rooted in fear and you operate in fear day to day, it blocks your connections with other people. You have a false sense of protection, or it blocks your creativity. Then these are all great reasons. There's probably plenty more, but I pulled out some that you may not think of. But this is why breaking up with perfectionism is important, and why we should even think about it, right? So when we're thinking about breaking up with perfectionism, how can we do it? What are the steps, right? Step number one is to just take the time to understand your thoughts about perfection. Remember, it's rooted in fear. Perfection is rooted in fear. So what fears come up for you when you're thinking about perfectionism? What does it say? What are the things that you hear in your mind as far as like, if I'm, if I don't do it this way, then this will happen, right? We talk about black and white thinking or all or nothing thinking, where if it's not perfect, there's no need to even do it. Or if if I can't do it right the first time, then I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So think about, and even this can be a journaling. Think about in what areas of your life are you feeling like you're practicing perfectionism, right? And in those situations, journal what you tell yourself, journal what you're thinking, journal the emotions. And like I said, it's rooted in fear. Find the fear, right? What are the fears? And once you're able to really pinpoint the fears, then you can start challenging those fears. So the best way to once you start identifying and become aware of something that you are thinking, or a cognition that you're thinking, you start to challenge that belief. So your belief may be, if I mess up, I'm a failure. How do I challenge that thought? If that's what you're thinking, how do you challenge that thought? You can shift your thought to, if I mess up, I will learn the lesson, right? So instead of me saying, if I mess up, I'm automatically a failure, changing that and shifting that to, if I mess up, I will learn the lesson, right? Because at the end of the day, failure, I like to think of failure or mistakes as a way for me to grow or get better, not necessarily tied to my worth. And sometimes when it comes to perfectionism, we tie these thought processes to our worth, to success, to productivity. And so we sometimes see productivity as perfection, or we may see, just our perceived success as that's the only way. Whereas you may fail before you hit that success. And that failure was just as important to that success as the success itself, right? If you didn't fail, then you wouldn't have tweaked this one thing here to make it successful. And without that failure, then you may not have been as successful as you were. So really even thinking about, situations where you may have failed, but you still were successful, journaling those out. What actually happened? What is the beauty in that process, right? Really taking the time to examine those things. Again, you can do this through journaling. You can do this through therapy if you want to have a third party to help you. But it's definitely a way to start challenging your thoughts and being very intentional about it. A few other examples I have here, I wrote down, is I have to get it right the first time. So instead of saying I have to get it right the first time, I'm allowed to figure it out as I go. So instead of saying I have to get it right the first time, I have to do this right now, and it has to come out this way, and I have to do it this way, the right this time, and this is the end all be all. Instead of saying that, you can say I'm allowed to figure it out as I go. Those are the best. I feel like those are the best successes, when you don't understand how to do something, or you're not quite sure how to do something, or you don't know how you're going to get there, but you just dive into it and you do it anyway, and it ends up being successful. Those are like the best situations, because you learn so much in that process, right? So that's another one. I have to get it right the first time. Instead of that, I'm allowed to figure it out as I go. Another one I wrote down is, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. If it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. Instead of saying that, you can say to yourself, progress matters more than perfection. Progress matters more than perfection, right? Everything's not going to be perfect. Life isn't perfect, y'all. Nothing's perfect. Nothing, except for ice cream, okay? Cookies. Those are perfection. All right. Anything outside of that, it's not. Okay. Brownies. I'll add donuts. Perfection. I'll give you that. Okay. But anything humanistic, I'm playing y'all, but anything humanistic is it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And that's something that even just those words can be something that you have to replay. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect, okay? But doesn't mean that it's not successful. If it's those imperfect successes, y'all, are those are in themselves are perfect, okay? So that was the last one. So what are some simple ways to practice breaking up with perfection, right? What are some simple ways that we can, what are some things that we can do, right? Now, it can be very simple. This also depends on where your perfectionism lies, because it may be in one place but not the other. Some of us are perfectionists in how we look versus our, how we're working or our productivity. Some of us are more perfectionists in our productivity at work or in our careers versus how we look. Or some of it may be more in our personal lives. We want to people please, and that's our perfectionism issue versus our career or how we look. So it depends on where you lie. So you want to really sit and think about that. But just a few ideas. Just be willing to embrace the imperfections of life in general and whatever those areas look like, right? So go into situations intentionally not trying to be perfect, right? If you have certain situations where you know for a fact that you go into it with the headspace of it has to be perfect, be intentional about it not being perfect. I'm not saying go in and sabotage things, but I'm saying go in with the thought process like, okay, if this isn't perfect, that's okay. If I go in and I stumble over a word, I done stumbled over so many words in this live, y'all. I don't care. But there was a time where I used to. You know what I mean? There was a time, well, why do you say it like that? Oh, you should have said it this way. Or I don't care. Y'all gonna get it how I give it. Okay? Y'all gonna get it how I give it. And that's okay. So just go into situations intentionally not trying to be flawless. Number two, be willing to be seen in your real form, flaws and all, whether that be emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? If you're in relationship, be willing to be vulnerable. Be open to it, even if it doesn't feel right or doesn't feel comfortable. Be open to it. Push yourself as much as you can. Don't judge yourself. I don't want y'all to be in perfectionism in this because this in itself doesn't have to be perfect. This can be messy. This can be all over the place. You can get it wrong sometimes as you're trying to progress. But being willing to, be seen in your real form, whether that be physical, if that's an issue that you're struggling with, whether it be I never go outside with makeup, never, right? Not me, but just saying, if you never go outside with makeup, go outside, go walk to the car with no makeup on, and just jump in and drive to the grocery store. You may, just something, just try to just test yourself based off of what you're struggling with. Try new things, something you want to learn, something that you have always seen as being fun, but you just never really invested any time into it because you felt like you would be imperfect for whatever reason. Things that you feel embarrassed to go into. I recently did pottery. Did a pottery class. I've never done a pottery class in my life. The clay was all over the place, but hey, it was fun. It was something that was exciting. It was very imperfect. I don't know where my imperfect bowl is. It's around here somewhere. But, just finding ways to go into situations and try new things. That's another way to get over it. Be honest with where you are. Say you don't know. Say you need help. Say you need support. Say you're not sure, right? If your perfectionism is wrapped around needing to know all of the answers, this is a good one, right? If you answer questions knowing you don't know the answers to it, but you try your best to still answer the question because you want to be perfect in that space, just say, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I can find out for you, but I don't know. I don't know the answer. Okay? Next one, pause instead of pushing. Am I doing this thing out of fear or from love? Take a pause instead of pushing through things, right? Really pause and think through, why am I doing what I'm doing? With what I'm doing, is this rooted in fear? Is this rooted in, feelings of judgment or rejection? Where is it rooted, right? So instead of pushing through every single thing, trying to be perfect in every situation, pause instead and really take the time to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. Just a few more. Let others see your process, not just your polished result, right? So sometimes, even when it comes to social media, we may only just post the finished thing, whatever it is that we're posting. Post your process. Post the messy parts. Post the things that you're trying when you're trying to work through something versus the polished, beautiful end result, right? Um, Embracing messy action, not perfect timing. So even if something isn't the best timing, pushing through that and taking some action and working through it through a process versus you trying to make sure that it's perfect. So a lot of times perfectionism keeps us from success because of the things that we try to be so perfect and make sure that it's the right time, it's the right place, it's the right people. And sometimes, and I'm not saying all of the time, I'm not saying be strategic, don't be strategic and thinking through and proactive and prioritize like what makes the most sense. I'm not saying that. Of course, use wisdom in this and understanding in this, but there are some times where you just got to go for it. You just got to do it, and it's not going to be perfect, and you're going to mess up, and you're going to fumble over things. But when you think about a lot of the people that are successful in life, and even looking up, I tell my kids this all the time. Look up, people that are in the spaces that you want to be in. Go look up people that have had success in the spaces that you want to have success and listen to their story. I bet you it's not perfect. I bet you they had, they messed up a few times. I bet you they were told no. I bet you they had some failures that, that they're willing to admit to. So don't be afraid of messy action. Don't be afraid of taking action on things and not necessarily having all of the things in one row. Okay. And then lastly, just celebrate imperfect wins. Celebrate the wins that aren't as perfect. Maybe you didn't hit the number, at work that you wanted to hit, or maybe you didn't, when you made or created an art piece that didn't, turn out quite the way that you wanted it, but it did turn out well. That event that you planned that you were expecting for it to be 75 people and it ended up being 55 people, still 55 people. That's still a success, So really think about those wins that aren't as perfect as you would have expected it to be, but still a win. A win is a win. Okay? A win is a win. So I hope this is helpful, y'all. I wanted to make sure that I gave you as many examples as possible. There's plenty more. And feel free to, journal some that are very direct to what you are working through. Like I said, perfectionism looks different for different people. For me, my perfectionism was internal, wasn't necessarily external. And so just thinking through the different things that you can do. One of mine was makeup. I used to wear makeup every day. You wouldn't catch me without makeup. Okay, that was not happening. Y'all done caught me today. Y'all caught me on these lives every week with no makeup, and I do that intentionally because of the fact that there was a time in my life where my makeup needed to be perfect. I was wearing lashes every day. Okay, anyway. But being intentional things like that, can make or break and help you to grow and be comfortable with you instead of trying to hide those pieces of you that you don't see as perfect. So I hope this is helpful, y'all. I'll give you the journal prompts and the affirmations. Definitely let me know in the comments if this is helpful. I really truly hope so. And let me make sure. Oh, okay. Got all my stuff over here. All right. So journal prompts. Make sure to like the live too as well. Thank you, Miss Kim. Yep, Miss Kim, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. I really do always hope that all of these lives are helpful. And at least if you walk away with one thing that you can remember and take with you, by all means, that makes me happy. See, that's me getting rid of my perfectionism, okay? Because I done stumbled over several words today, but that's okay. That's all right. If as long as you get something, that's what matters. Okay, so journal prompts. Feel free to write these down however you wish to. If you want to change the wording, or if you want to change it to where it makes more sense for your situation, please do. This is just a way for you to have something to start with. If you don't feel comfortable talking through it with yourself through journaling, feel free to take it into therapy. However you want to use it, feel free to do so. Same with the affirmations. Use the affirmations however you wish to. Change the language. You can write them down. You can recite them. You can write them on sticky notes. Whatever you want to do with them, please feel free to do so. Okay, journaling question number 1. Where in my life do I feel the pressure to be perfect? Where in my life do I feel the pressure to be perfect? Where in my life do I feel the pressure to be perfect? Okay, this is naming, just naming where you feel that pressure and where you feel exhausted. That's like where you want to start. Because typically if we're feeling so much fatigue and exhaustion in a certain area, most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time it's linked to us trying to control something that we can't control, or it's linked to some form of perfectionism. So start where you're fatigued, where you're exhausted, where you're burned out. If you're burned out in your relationship, start there. If you're burned out with work, start there. If you're burned out with your being a parent, start there. Because even parents, moms and dads, feel some form of perfectionism when you're raising children. And when your children turn out to be a certain way, or they're acting a certain way, we blame ourselves, and then we try to build up this sense of perfectionism as I'm going to be the perfect mom, or I'm going to be the perfect dad, right? Especially a lot of times too with parenting, it stems from how we were raised. So if it's a dad that never had a dad, then he's going to operate in perfectionism and trying to be the best dad for his child. Same with the moms, or vice versa. If it was a mom that didn't have a dad, or a mom that didn't have a mom, there's a sense of perfectionism. So really think about and be specific of the areas of your life that you're striving to be perfect. You think of different situations, different relationships, and different roles that you play. So if you're a father, if you're a mother, if you're a sister, if you're a brother, you're a child, you may be an adult child, and you're trying to still be the perfect child for your parent. There's so many ways that it can show up. So think of areas that you are exhausted or tired. Think of all of the roles that you hold, or the roles that you play, right? All of your titles. And think about how you were raised, how you were conditioned to think, whether it be by your parents or conditioned by your circumstances. Like I said, maybe a father who didn't have a father, now you're trying to be the perfect father, okay? So where in my life do I feel the pressure to be perfect? Really think through those and be specific. And if it takes you some time to even answer the question, that's okay, because guess what? We're not going to be perfect in answering these questions. Okay? Got to keep putting that in there. We don't need to be perfect. So if it takes you a few days to answer the questions, that's okay, right? That was number 1. Number 2, what pieces of myself am I hiding while I wait for things to be perfect? What pieces of myself am I hiding while I'm waiting for things to be perfect? What pieces of myself am I hiding while I'm waiting for things to be perfect? And this answer will pop up as you do number 1. As you do number 1 and you really think through all of the areas of pressure, typically is rooted in fear, right? It's rooted in some type of fear, but it's also rooted in a space that you're hiding, a part of yourself that you're hiding. Not as you're doing it intentionally, right? It's just a part of yourself that you are trying to mask and cover up for whatever reason. And those reasons could be so many different reasons, but this is a way for you to name what it is you're hiding, what part of yourself you're hiding, you know? Could be your inner child. It could be, you're working in a certain space and you don't want to work in that space. You really want to work in this space, but you're staying here because it's comfortable, because it's certain, because it's paying the bills and it's not broken. So why break it? So you could be hiding a lot of different versions of yourself. That was number 2. And then number 3, what does perfect look like to me? And who taught me that version of perfection? What does perfect look like to me? And who taught me that version of perfection? What does perfect look like to me? And who taught me that version of perfection? Okay. What does perfect look like? What is perfect to you? Right? Then who taught you that? Is it you that you taught yourself based off of your own situations and traumatic experiences? Or was it heard from someone else? Was it a sibling that told you this? Is it a parent that told you this, right? Is it a relationship, a long-term relationship that you were in that told you this, right? Think about where your idea or belief of what being perfect is, and then name where it came from. Like I said, it could come from a person, it could came from you just based off of situations, or it could have came from an environment. You may have conditioned yourself to be a certain way based off of what you experienced, or someone else conditioned you to be a certain way because it worked better for them. Okay, so think about, what does perfect look like, and what pieces of myself am I hiding, and where in my life do I feel the pressure? Okay, y'all, perfect. Affirmations. We got 3 affirmations and then we'll be done, y'all. Again, I hope this was helpful. Number 1, my imperfections are proof that I'm human, not proof that I'm lacking. My imperfections are proof that I'm human, not proof that I'm lacking. My imperfections are not proof that are proof that I'm human, not proof that I'm lacking. Okay. Imperfectionism, of course, like I said, imperfections are a human experience. We all are imperfect. The faster we're able to sit and really accept that and process that, the better off we all will be, and the less we would try to attempt to operate in this perfectionism that we operate in day to day. And then number 2, it's safe for me to be in progress and unfolding beautifully at my pace. It's safe for me to be in progress and unfolding beautifully at my pace. It's safe for me to be in progress and unfolding beautifully at my pace. Progress is okay. Progress is safety. Progress is joy, right? Progress is restoration, okay? Progress is success, right? Just because you haven't met the threshold of success doesn't mean the progress to get to that point isn't as important as the actual end result. I say that often. That process that you're going through, that revolution, that evolution that you're going through, is where the lessons are learned. And those lessons that you're learning throughout that process is going to be what's going to sustain you when you meet success, right? Without those lessons that you've learned as you were in that process or while you were in progress of reaching that goal, when you hit that success and you run into another issue at that epitome of success, you're going to remember your process. You're going to remember your progress. And that process that you were going to remember, those mistakes that were made, those situations that got you to that success, is going to fuel you. It's going to give you strategy. It's going to give you ideas. It's going to help you to take risks. It's going to help you to jump out and take more risks even after you surpass your success, to give you even more success and even more success and even more success. So that process is just as important as the success. And the sooner you're able to embrace that, and the sooner that you're able to hold on to that and really think through those situations, you'll start to find joy in those things. You'll start to find joy in the mistakes. You'll start to find joy in those perceived failures. You'll start to find joy in the growth, right? Because of the fact that without it, you wouldn't be who you are and you wouldn't have found a success, right? So really embrace the, really take the time to embrace all of the areas and progress in your life, and all of those areas in your life that may have not been the best, but it catapulted you to where you are today, right? Even if I think about myself, I'll give you an example. The reason why I'm here today and I'm about to go into my practicum for therapy and counseling, yay. The reason why I'm going that route stemmed from a layoff, right? I had a layoff at the end of 2023. Yeah, end of 2023. And I know for a fact if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have went to graduate school. I wouldn't even applied. I wouldn't have been doing these lives. I wouldn't have been doing any of these meditations like this on a consistent basis. I wouldn't have been doing a lot of this stuff because of the fact that I would have been too comfortable where I was, right? So as I look back at that, I can now see the beauty in that. Even though at the time I was hurt, okay, distraught, run amok, okay. But now that I look back at it, now I can say like, oh, you know what? If that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened. If that wouldn't have happened, then I would not have learned this. If that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be, where I'm at today. Okay, so my level of self-worth has gone up since then. My level of just the capacity of doing things and taking risks and being a part of uncertainty has gone up since then. My knowledge base and just in my mental health has gone up drastically since then. But without it, really, where would I be? I probably would still be there working stress, okay? Because that was stressful. So really thinking about finding the beauty in process and progress is so important. Sorry, y'all. I don't even know where I was at. I don't went on a tangent. Oh, last affirmation. Last affirmation. I release what is not mine to carry and surrender the illusion that it was meant for me to hold. I release what is not mine to carry and surrender the illusion that it was meant for me to hold. I release what is not mine to carry and surrender the illusion that it was meant for me to hold. So when it comes to perfectionism, many times we are carrying things that are not ours. We are carrying things and we're trying to control things that don't belong to us, right? This is the affirmation to remind us to give that back to whoever owns it, okay? If it's the Lord, if it's a person, if it's an environment, give it back. Because a lot of times when it comes to perfectionism, we're trying to control things that we can't control. And that's why we're burned out. That's why we're tired. Okay? That's why we're exhausted. So let it go. Release it, give it back, and pick up the things that belong to you. What belongs to you? Your worth. That belongs to you. What belongs to you? Your sanity, your joy, your peace, right? All of those things are your love. All of those things belong to you, right? So release the things that you don't own, pick up the things that you can, and let go of the illusion that you were supposed to hold those things, right? Because we picked those things up because we thought it belonged to us, right? So it's not just releasing it and letting it go. The last thing I want y'all to do is pick them things right back up, okay? So release it. Let it go, but also surrender the narrative that you told yourself that it belonged to you in the first place. Okay. So that was the last affirmation, y'all. I hope this was helpful. I'll go back to the top for the affirmations. It was my imperfections. They were a little bit long today, but my imperfections are proof that I'm human, not proof that I'm lacking. Number two, it's safe for me to be in progress and unfolding beautifully at my pace. Number three, I release what is not mine to carry and surrender the illusion that it was meant for me to hold. Um, I love that, y'all. This was great. I hope that this was helpful, y'all. Go ahead and make sure to include these in the newsletter that's going out on Wednesday. If you have not, I can't talk today, y'all. If you have not signed up for the newsletter, you can go to haveninspired.com and sign up for the newsletter. It comes out every Wednesday. I do owe y'all some meditations because I was supposed to post meditations last week, and my power went out for like a day, y'all. It was insane. My power went out for a day because there was like a huge thunderstorm. Everything was blown all over the place. But I didn't get a chance to post all of the meditations. Thank you, Shaphonia. Thank you so much for joining. So I didn't get a chance to post all the meditations last week. So y'all should get some extra ones this week. And yeah, next week, I'll take a look back at the poll. I can't recall what the second I can't recall what the second title was. So I'll look back at the poll to see like what you guys voted on as second place. If it's not a high vote, then I'll probably just go and post new ideas on Saturday. So actually, scratch that. I got a lot going on this weekend. So I might just go off of whatever's next or secondary, but you can still vote on the poll. Go ahead and check that out. And then, yeah, I'll see y'all all next Monday. Another reminder, like I said, I will be going into practicum in September. So our lives will go through August, and then September I'm going to take a break because I'll be sitting with clients, y'all, which is exciting for the first time. And I'll make sure to let you guys know if you can sign up to, if you want to be one of my first clients as a counselor, you can always sign up there. I do believe that I'll be restricted to only those in Illinois. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. But yeah, so September will be no lives, and then we'll hopefully pick back up in October. But y'all all have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.